Okay, now we're going to discuss the debrief of the problem. So this is category 4 of the assignment from Mod 14. Okay, so thoughts, feelings, and values. This one was a little bit hard for me. I was thinking of students I frustrated this year and how I could have better served them. I just started a new job, both coaching and teaching at a new school this year. And I wonder often, are there students I don't know are frustrated? Am I seeing things and not responding to them? Am I ignorant of their frustrations? Am I seeing things and ignoring them altogether? And I was thinking a lot about that. If I was in Miss Tate's position, am I unwilling to address these concerns, or is my pride getting in the way, or am I just unable to do it? Maybe I'm doing better than I think. But as teachers, we tend to be pretty self-conscientious, or pretty self-conscious rather. And I wondered a lot about that as we were going through this. I was thinking of this last spring. There was a board member whose kid I coached on the football team, and this particular parent just came in attacking any and everybody. And she spent a lot of time and effort on me specifically. And I had done nothing ethically, morally wrong. I had done nothing even professionally wrong. She was just very frustrated with a lot of things and took a lot of it out on me. I thought a lot about that, and I ultimately left the school that I was because of the lack of the administration I had to back and support me, and I was frustrated with that. So I thought a lot about that too. I was also thinking about how, as an administrator, should this be handled if I were the administrator in charge? And that should be handled in an expedient, logical fashion. And it seems as Dr. Smith certainly tried to do that, but that's certainly some of the things that I was thinking throughout this case study. Feelings were a little bit more of a challenge for me. I was feeling the stresses and the frustrations I've experienced this semester, starting a new job, teaching. I have 3 preps now. I'm starting a new football coaching job while I've coached football for 15 years. I'm the offensive coordinator in a new program with a new system, and that added quite a bit to my frustrations. Not in a negative way. It's just that many more things to do on top of my 3 preps and my schoolwork. I was also had quite a bit to do at home with my family, obviously with 2 little children under the age of 4. I also, am teaching and preaching quite a bit at my church. And so all those things together gave me quite a bit of stress and frustration this fall. And I was thinking a lot about that as I was going through this study. I felt defensive as an educator and worried about Miss Tate's professional life. Was she going to get the support that she needed? Is it easier to try to get away from the frustrations that parents put onto administrators by dismissing a teacher or by putting it down on a teacher? Because that oftentimes seems to be the case. It's easier to give into the fear of litigation or the fear of persecution by those on the outside, and to turn your back on those on the inside. And I felt defensive for Mrs. Tate as I was reading this, or for Miss Tate. I felt betrayed by my own responses on the other side of that. While I was feeling defensive for her, I also thought, I wonder what she could have done better. And then for some reason that generated a feeling of betrayal within myself. How did she contribute to this situation? Was she doing any and everything she could to serve her students? From a value standpoint, it's very, very easy for us to say, for me, to say God, family, football, or God, family, education, or anything along those lines. But am I practicing that? I was thinking a lot about Miss Tate's values, how they're probably very, very different from some of the things that I value, because she just doesn't have those. She doesn't have those 2 young children. She doesn't have a spouse at home. She's living on her own. So are her values in alignment with mine? And they certainly probably wouldn't be. From an administrator standpoint, his values are going to be different also. He has a whole lot more students than I do to take care of. I've got the students in my classroom, but he has a whole school full of students. And beyond that, he also has a full school full of teachers and support staff and all these other people that he's responsible for, in addition to who I am responsible for. And then as a student, the values that I have. So this, for me, this semester in particular, was where a lot of it kind of came to a head, right? I have these responsibilities to God first and foremost. I have responsibilities to my family, but then I've got to make sure that I'm not neglecting my professional responsibilities, essentially 2 full-time jobs in the form of coaching and teaching. And then so where do I put things aside? And for me this semester, I unfortunately had to put a lot of my personal growth in academia aside for those other things. And I don't know that I regret it, but I wish wish that I could have found a way to deal with it better, or another more appropriate way to handle some of these stresses and frustrations, some of these value alignments. Some of the unresolved issues in this case study: Miss Tate's confidence and safety. How is she going to act now as a teacher moving forward? Does she still have the courage and confidence to grow, or does she go into shut down and get out of education mode, as we've seen all too often with good educators? Will she be able to put this behind her but learn from it, or will this be something that defines her entire career? Will she feel safe, beyond however she decides to deal with this professionally? Will she continue to feel safe, or will she feel like somebody's out to get her? Did the failure of the administration add to this? Yeah, they pointed out some strategies for her, Dr. Smith did, but did he follow through on those strategies and help to continue to give her those things? And did that put her in a bad position? Did Dr. Smith's arrogance, it was discussed early in the case study about his pride in the school and its place. Did that add to or get in the way of Miss Tate in any way? Did that inability for him to empathize with her cause some problems for her? What is the lingering effect of this issue on school morale and safety? Certainly, other teachers can't feel good depending on how this is carried out if the concerns of Miss Tate are ignored altogether. So what does that look like for the staff moving forward? And certainly, most importantly, what does that look like for the students moving forward? Do they feel safe? Do they feel like this is an appropriate course of action for students to have taken? Will they mimic this in the future? Category 5, reflection on Standard 5. The education leader at the building level applied knowledge that promoted the success of every student by acting with integrity by, not reacting emotionally. You notice Ms. Tate, rightfully so, was very emotional initially. When she reached out to Dr. Smith, his response was, let me evaluate it. He didn't just go on her word, because she was obviously in a very challenging position, but he looked at it himself and he said, let's deal with this in the morning. His experience told him that this was not a credible threat, but more of a prank. So he took time to listen without delaying and considered it. He listened to Miss Tate and then evaluated the information independently, and he earnestly searched for the truth. As far as fairness is concerned, this was carried out by not valuing the needs of one over the needs of others. People all have different needs. The teachers have different needs than the students have different needs than the administrators, and they all have different needs than the parents. And so consider everyone's needs and try not to put somebody else's needs above another person's, as we all too often do in our culture today. Interview all involved before determining the course of action. Consider the situation of each person involved. Have the ability to empathize and think about that before creating a situation, and didn't hand down discipline before gathering all available information. Don't just react, but find a course of action to resolve. Ethical behavior was handled by following ethical procedure for the investigation and the solution. Did not allow personal feelings to sway resolutions to the problem. It certainly would appear that that was the case, and looked for proactive options to create best possible situation for students moving forward from this. How can we give our students an opportunity to improve, to express themselves, to vent frustrations, maybe to handle things in a better, more proactive way, rather than let it get to the point where this is the resolution, whether it be right or wrong. Thank you for listening. Apologize for my voice. I got some sort of congestion. Thank you again for your patience with me in this course, and I look forward to working with you again in the future.